Loading program, Trekommendations.
Hello and welcome to Trekommendations, a podcast that invites on wonderful people to share some of their favorite things in the greater world of Star Trek. My name is Jason, and after I said last week that we had our first guest who had actually appeared in episodes of Star Trek, well, it looks like the streak continues. Yes, he has abandoned the NX-01 and decided to join us on the podcast. You might have seen him in Enterprise or as part of the Letterdex team. It's Duncan K Fraser.
Hello. Thanks a lot for having me on, Jason.
Thank you for coming on. I mean, I imagine, you're a busy man. It's hard to get you.
Mostly with my little daughter, but yes.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say maybe it's Captain Archer that's keeping you busy, but no, your daughter. That seems more realistic.
Yes.
You're absolutely right.
Yes. In the Letterdex context, I have retired from Starfleet and now like to talk about the days on the ship. So I'm doing who knows what.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting that you said this. All right, we're going to link up to this. I want to ask you a lot of questions. In order to do that, we have to first calibrate the guest. So it's time for some calibration questions.
Calibrating.
Wonderful. Well, as mentioned in the intro, you appeared on the NX-01 in Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
If you could bring one character from Star Trek, any series, onto the NX-01 Enterprise, who do you think would be the best fit?
The best fit. I could answer this in a lot of ways. I'm going to answer it maybe a mix of fan and in-universe. I think that Mr. Data would be the best. I've always been a huge fan of that character, kind of my favorite. I came up with TNG and the original series movies, so I like him because he has so much knowledge and he has such good troubleshooting that like a lot of the little problems we'd have with our systems would be very easy for him to analyze and fix, and he'd be good at giving advice without spoiling the timeline. And and plus he's good for entertainment too, cards, music, all that. So yeah, Mr. Data.
Oh, that's interesting. When you said you wouldn't spoil the time, that's interesting. So this is a Data who has all the knowledge from TNG,
Oh yes,
but has come back and is just saying, I can't tell you. I could tell you that you cannot trust this species and they're going to betray you, but I can't do that. That's
right.
My programming does not allow. I love it.
Right.
Love it.
Right. It'd be really fun. It'd be fun. And I loved it when Brent Spiner did his arc as
that's true. Yeah.
Dr. Soong. It was really cool.
So your character was human, or at least he looked human to me.
Yeah. Not a lot of mixing back then.
Yeah. If you could have played any alien, what would you have wanted to be?
I'm so glad you asked me this because I have very, very strong feelings about this. I always wanted to be a Klingon. Like I even talked to Wes Moore about this, and he's a super nice guy. Just everyone knows that. Like he's really cool. And unfortunately, I joined the show on the last episode of season 2, and I was there for the duration of 3 and 4 and had a lot to do and a name and everything. But when I asked him, he said, "Sorry, we already have all the people that we need," and they make those applications custom, for people. So I never got a chance to, but man, I would love to be a Klingon. It's like my favorite species in Star Trek, really.
Because I was interested to know, because the question isn't like which is your favorite alien race, but which would you want to be? I was curious to know if the makeup application and the amount of time it was going to take was going to influence your decision at all. And you'd be like, I'll be a Vulcan. I'll be a Vulcan. 6 minutes on me, I'm done. Or no, I'm ready to be a Klingon. Like, sit me down in that chair for 4 hours. I'm good to go.
Oh yeah, man, yeah. And then like the Klingon theme song as I walked along would be in my head. Yeah. But this is the good thing to know about me is, at one time I was a professional actor, and so I swim in that world. I worked in Hollywood for 20 years total. A lot of it was studio operations, but creative before that. But I also have been a Star Trek fan since I was 8. starting with the original series cast movies, and so I have fan perspective and everything on that too. So like being on Star Trek was a dream come true, and every day I had to like remind myself, okay, don't act like a fan, don't freak out, do your job well, be a professional, because you don't want to get kicked out. And I managed to hold on for 2 seasons. So
Well,
I've got a mix going on there.
yeah. Well done. I mean, and I said this last week with Michael when he was on that th- this is like a weird show because I think any other Star Trek podcast would be like, I just want to get the biggest names within Star Trek. That's who I want on my show, right? Like
Mm-hmm,
that's what I want. And for me, I have mixed feelings about that because as much as I'd love to have Jonathan Frakes on or someone like that, with the nature of this show and like recommending things that aren't just the TV show,
mm-hmm.
I'm like a big name act, an incredible actor that had a major role in Star Trek because they were a great actor that got employed to do Star Trek doesn't necessarily mean they're a massive Star Trek fan that's going to have some super niche, wonderful recommendation. So I
Right.
prefer someone who is fan first, actor second.
Yes. Well, you got one.
Yeah. So,
So good times, man.
I mean,
Came
that
to
being said, if any big, huge Star Trek actors are listening to this and they want to jump on the show, I'm not gonna kick you out. But
I mean, right? I happen to know that I'm going to forget his name right now, but the guy who played Neelix, I've heard
yeah,
is a big Star Trek fan. There are others. A lot of us letter decks people are though.
yes.
Like the six of us who did our panel at SCLV this past year, 2025. Most of us were fans before we got on the show and were excited because of that to be on the show. Like I'm not the only one. So yeah, you may have a treasure trove waiting there.
I was going to say it's why I'm on my absolute best behavior today, just so then you report back to the group and be like, "No, it was a really good time. It was
Nice.
treated me really well."
Super smart, man.
Final question for you then, and you may have hinted at this a little bit, but in your head canon,
Mhm.
what is Ensign Walsh doing post, the end of what we saw in Enterprise?
Man, I love your questions. This is so great. I could probably go on about this because I've been spending a lot of time thinking about that, particularly since I started Letter Decks
Yeah.
just this past year. But always it's been in my head, right? So I like to think broad strokes that there is a piece of canon that a lot of people don't know about that I learned about just this past year, which is there was an entry in Star Trek magazine when it was still going. There was a personal log by Ensign Walsh on the NX-01. I had nothing to do with it, but it was the character, and it was about how he basically was looking forward to not having conflict they had to deal with anymore and getting back to the original mission of exploration. And so I feel like his main thing, like you see Walsh doing stuff in engineering, but you also see him doing stuff where, like, if there's some dangerous stuff going on, somehow they decide, you know what, Walsh needs to be on that, right? I beamed down to a planet for hatchery with Trip to rescue the captain, for instance. I arrested Regine and then guarded the cell when the Zindi attacked, a bunch of things, right? So I'm thinking of backstory. He's got some kind of conflict in his past, some kind of training, but really he wants to do engineering and exploration, and that's what he's in for. But he keeps getting kind of pulled back into this, how to fight kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I think he would have stuck with that, but maybe gotten involved with like burgeoning Section 31 stuff also. But I also think that uh, a lot of people, when they're thinking about the future of their character, are like, oh, captain, and that's like the big thing, right? For me, I feel like Walsh would have stopped at commander on purpose because he just wanted to be the chief engineer on whatever cutting edge starship. So maybe he like keeps going to the cutting edge ones and stays commander and retires to go work on his hover bikes and custom weapons or something.
Until he gets called back in again, because clearly I like the idea that he is also in section. I mean, if you're wanting cutting edge technology, as we know,
Right.
Section 31, they're going to have the most cutting
They
edge
are. They
ships,
are.
and
Plus,
I
Walsh worked with Trip a lot, and there's rumors that Trip went
oh
there.
yeah,
He might
yeah,
have been like, putting together a mission and been like, I know a guy. He might not be game, but maybe. And I actually have a whole. I won't go into it, but I have a story, like a treatment of a story about some of the letter decks characters, me and Ensign Tanner and Ensign Anderson and some others, uh, getting recruited out of retirement to basically help in the temporal Cold War with a specific mission in which they have to use older Earth technology, the space shuttle, to rescue Lieutenant J, who is trapped somewhere and nobody knows that. And she, anyway. So yeah, I've got some stuff in the works.
okay. This is all interesting because I just started a few days ago. We watched the pilot, Broken Boat, with my son in the room to try and
Mm-hmm.
start the indoctrination of Star
Heck
Trek
yeah,
into him. Now that he's 12, so he's kind of,
good age.
he's and I was like, where do we start? I think this is a good place to start because it's not
Sweet.
new Trek, but it's not older Trek. It's that maybe sweet spot in the middle.
Yep.
Um, and
Like it.
and now I'll be able to be like, look, that's Duncan. That's Duncan.
Well, you're gonna have to wait a little while,
That's
but
fine. I got time.
I'm like getting featured stuff right out of the gate. So season finale of season 2, and the name of it is escaping me, but it's Duras attacking the NX-01 and Archer getting taken by the Suliban. I'm in the back of the bridge the whole episode, and I run up when the Suliban show up and some other things. So
Yeah. So we are going to move on, but I'm just going to finish with saying,
oh yeah, of course.
does it bring you a degree of pleasure when people say things like, yeah, season 1 and 2, meh, but Enterprise got really good from season 3 on? And you're like, well, once I joined the crew,
Right,
things
right.
started to change.
It's because of me. Yeah. Well, does it bring me pleasure? Well, yes, because that's where I had the most to do. As a fan, I totally agree with that, and I love it because that's when Manny Koto started being involved, and they really started connecting back to the originals. All the reasons, right? Like I enjoy seasons 3 and 4 more than 1 and 2 also. So, but yeah, I like it that people are watching the episodes they might see me on. That's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. I mean, I would be telling people that all the time. That would be my go-to thing.
Well,
Okay.
that's what we do at Letter Decks. We like to tell the stories.
See how it's all tying in. Oh my
All
goodness.
tying in.
Okay. And as fun and light as this has all been, now things get serious. We're going into red alert. Okay. I hope you can see this.
There's a
it's a
spinning
clock.
circle. Yes. Oh, yes, the clock. Yes.
So, Duncan, in
Yes.
60 seconds or less, please, can you tell us what is your Trekommendation and why you've brought it to the show?
My Trekommendation is for the vodcast/podcast Trekkin Up North. And if you look it up on YouTube, it's Trekkin with no apostrophe, but you will get a hiking thing. Don't give up. Just do Trekkin Up North altogether with no spaces, and you'll get it. It is 2 hilarious and talented and lovely British men from the north of England, hence North. I had to learn that, who review episodes of all kinds of Star Trek. And they mix a unique brand of humor from their region, which I really dig. And they also are very intellectual and thoughtful about their reviews. They don't spread hate. They appreciate things, and they give thoughtful reasons when they don't like things. And they also love to goof around and wear costumes. So, Trekking Up North.
Look at that. Look at that timing. Unbelievable.
It's like I have training or something.
Yeah. I understand why Section 31 recruited you. Makes sense now.
Oh, funny.
You're like, this guy. That's he's the one trying to the bomb's about to detonate. He's got like 5 seconds left on the clock, and you're
Right.
gonna get it down with 1 second left. Brilliant.
Green wire, red wire, green wire, red wire.
Okay, a few things I loved about that straight off the bat. Let's go with I too discovered a hiking channel when I was trying to
Yeah,
find.
right.
I was like, oh, I need to look up their thing, and was typing it in. I was like, I can't even find it. It's a hiking video. So
Right.
I'm glad to know I'm not the only one. So that's one thing. I mean, you have mentioned. I mean, it's in the name, Trekking Up North. They're from the north of England. I won't tell you if I'm from the north or the south, Duncan, but I will tell you that I was born in a city called Southampton. So you can decide whether or not you think that it would be in the north or south of England.
Sounds Irish.
Yes.
No, I kid because I'm American. In case you didn't catch that, well, I could be Canadian, I suppose, but no, I'm American, and we notoriously do not know anything about international geography. I think I'm a little better than most, but I honestly, if someone before I learned about their show had asked me, "Hey, what are the key cultural differences between the south of England and the north of England?" I'd be like, I didn't even know they had a civil war like we had. That I
It's
don't think
ongoing.
I'm making a joke about it. But I know, based on what I've seen, I'd rather go hang out in the north. But I don't know. I like all. I don't have an opinion, to be honest.
No.
I just know those guys are down for goofing around and whatever. I like goofing around, of course.
I am curious, though, considering that also you would have had to have done work in order to find this podcast, as we've said. How did you first discover Trekking Up North?
Ooh, okay. Trekking Up North. Great one. So as I mentioned, I think I've always been a Star Trek fan. I can't remember what we talked about before you started recording and after, but 8 years old, I started with the original cast movies, and then, grew up mostly with TNG, etc. But I think because of the way that my professional career went, particularly getting into Hollywood and everything, I didn't really get into the breadth and depth of Star Trek fandom. Like, I was vaguely aware of certain aspects of it, particularly once the internet started being a thing, and the main way of fandom being spread, and also the Comic-Con scene started to evolve and morph into more cosplay, more movie and TV show interest. So when I started Letter Decks, and I knew that we were getting into that world more, like I had been to other conventions for professional reasons for different projects, but I wanted to know, like, what are the current topics, and what are the camps of people, and how do they feel about different things? Like, why do some people like, this show over that show, etc. So I started just seeking out podcasts, and particularly vodcasts. I like a visual element, and so I had already, though separately, somebody referred me to Casa Lima, Cassandra, who is one of the exec producers of the Transporter Room with Chris Garris, and I had been on his show, so I started plugging into cross pollination, if you will, from his show onward. And so for whatever reason, the ones I was pulling up that looked interesting, I got, the algorithm sent me Trekking Up North, and I saw that Chris was already connected to them in a different way. And I'm like, okay. And what really pulled me to them was I saw a thumbnail in their videos, because usually how I do is I go to, the main page on YouTube, and I pull up videos, and I just look at, okay, where are they covering something that I care about, or somebody that I know, or, for context. So, it's interesting because there's so much content. And I saw the one where they both had on outfits like Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens, and they were reviewing the 2-part episode from TNG. Title is escaping me. You probably know it, but where they go back in time to his time, and actual Mark Twain gets involved in their hijinks and adventure and all that. And I looked at that. They've got the wigs and the facial hair and like the collars and stuff. I'm like, well, this is fresh and different. Let me go see what these knuckleheads are doing. So I started watching it, and it was like, this is hilarious. These guys are insane. Like they're speaking with Southern accents, like American Southern accents, a whole bunch, and reviewing the episodes thoughtfully, but also just like goofing around. They jump back and forth, and like this is my jam right here. So that's how I found them. The funny outfits.
Yeah, it's funny because I mean, actually, you know, I've had a number of guests come on and recommend podcasts, which I appreciate, because what happens is sometimes a guest come on and recommend like a book, and then the show ends and I'm like, oh man, they really convinced me that sounds like the best book ever written, and then I jump on eBay and I buy the book. So when people come and recommend a podcast, it's a lot more cost effective for me. I'm saving money on these cases. So
Nice.
and a lot of the podcasts that have been recommended, I hadn't heard of before. I've had quite a few where I'm like, okay, tell me about this. I've never heard of this. This is one of the times where you've come on and mentioned one I do know. So I know these guys, and I was like, okay, this is fine. But I feel like it's a similar thing. I, like you know, I'm born in '87, grew up with TNG. You know, watched the original series. My mum is a Trekkie. My grandfather, who passed away maybe 2 years ago, is probably the person who is most like Spock I've ever met in my life, and that was my grandfather. And you know, he is.
Cool.
So they were, you know, they were TOS fans. Then the movies, TNG, you know, DS9, Voyager. Like, we've gone through Enterprise when it aired, was like, oh, you know, a new Star Trek, and I'm kind of an age to really appreciate it now that it's coming out. So all of that. But I too hadn't really listened to that many podcasts. Like, there are a couple of podcasts that I listened to, previous guests of the show, Starship Tempest, people will know I've been listening to that for quite a number of years. But that was like, you know, because it's an actual play and an audio drama, I listened to a lot of audio dramas, loads of audio dramas.
Cool.
But I hadn't really listened to many podcasts. Just maybe like when Discovery came out, I was listening to like an episode review show that was talking about Discovery, but that was about it.
No, same like kind of balance of entertainment.
And then I thought, well, if I'm doing you know, and I had comics and games and all kind of other stuff, I just podcasts weren't something I was doing within Star Trek, within many other things, listening to hours and hours of podcasts, but I just hadn't, for whatever reason. But when I knew I was going to do this, I started to dip my toe into more podcasts and be like, okay, let me see what else is out there, what other people are talking about. And like you, I don't know how the Transporter Room very quickly showed up on my radar. And I'm pretty sure Trekkin Up North again came from that, sort of them being intertwined in certain ways and there being links there, which is so it's really stupid of me asking you how it happened, because it happened exactly the same way for me.
You seem to have a lot of parallels, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the only difference is you like a visual element to your podcasts, whereas I generally look to see if people have an audio version first. Because I'm a lot more outside on the road doing stuff and I can listen. And whereas when I'm at home, if I have to put it on, then it's like, oh, now I need to, you know, sit and watch this, versus I can be out doing lots of stuff and, you know, driving and or running or whatever I'm doing, and I'm listening to podcasts. So
that's funny that you say that, because while I do prefer the visual element, I'm not usually sitting down and watching it. I'm usually doing something like making dinner or housework. I'm the stay-at-home parent right now, so I'm doing all the house things, right, that are not mentally taxing, but that take a lot of physical. So like I'll listen to it in my earbuds and then go look occasionally. So yeah, no, that's funny though. But I'd never like if you give me a choice. I mean, there's a reason that I chose to go into a profession that's a visual media. Like I'm kind of into that. So yeah, I like the visuals.
Well, that's because you're a handsome fella, Duncan. Maybe for you, we're all happy to sit and look at you on the screen. But you know, I mean, look at these guys in Trekking Up North. Do we have to look at them?
I don't know. I think they're sexy beasts personally, especially the Geesian, that guy. The little mustache and the like smooth head. Yeah.
When he's not wearing a Mark Twain wig.
Even better. Or a beret. Oh my gosh. When they reviewed what was the name of that
The
episode
Picard
of
episode.
Picard? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, where they, oh my gosh, the
See, that's I suppose that's a yeah. I quite like to ask people. It's tricky because I know the answer to some of these questions, but I want to hear your opinion, not what I think is the answer to these questions.
that's cool.
Um,
I'd like to hear
so
your opinion.
there's a lot of episode review shows,
Sure.
like within, I mean, a lot of
Oh,
episode review,
oh,
which is why this is not that. There's
right
already
on.
enough.
Yeah.
But I'm always intrigued by like what makes this show different from that show, and sometimes it is, my kind of go-to examples are like you know you have people that they're reviewing the episode kind of in universe, like, oh, you know, why would Spock do this, and why would Kirk have
Right.
reacted in that way, and and then you've got someone that is like super Hollywood technical, going, oh, this is really interesting. This episode was directed by so and so, and they also directed this and
Mhm.
this and this, and this actor was previously in this, and that's why they, and you know, they take it from a very kind of behind the scenes viewpoint.
Sure.
Um, I think it is interesting about the approach of Trekking Up North and the fun that they can have with it is, what do you do when it's a bad episode? You know, like
Right.
we
Right.
all know, and we're not, and also guys, we're not just talking about New Trek here. Like, you know, well, could you explain to anyone listening about how they end their episodes and how they just, well, currently
Yes.
it's Academy, but when it's not Academy, how do
Right.
they determine what episode they will be reviewing next? Because this will help then the follow-up bit of conversation.
Love that. Okay, perfect. Because yeah, as you were talking, I was thinking I should talk about that. There you go. That's a standout thing of their show, which is what you're alluding to, which is they're very good at talking about episodes that they feel are bad or that they can find a lot of things that are bad about, and they don't shy away from doing episodes that they think are bad. So what they've done is created a virtual Dabo reel or Dabo wheel, sorry, and sort of for anyone that doesn't know that, it's sort of like a roulette kind of thing. Okay, it's a casino game that's in DS9. Go look it up. You won't be sorry. So at the end, they usually have someone random, listener viewer send in a video giving them a Star Trek quiz question. And if they can answer the question accurately, they get to win spin rather the Dabo Wheel of Honor. And that's all the episodes they've plugged in that they feel are the best ones. Whereas if they don't get it right, they have to spin the Dabo Wheel of Shame, and that has all the episodes that they feel are the worst or that are universally recognized as bad or the worst relatively. And whatever episode comes up out of the wheel, that's the one they review next. And sometimes they cry about it and make a lot of sorry for themselves noises, but they still do it, and they do it thoughtfully and with the same amount of playfulness, and they don't ever talk about bad things in a way that is hurtful toward people or um, trying to cast shame on the people that made it. They say things like, I prefer this way that could have been shown. They chose to do it a different way, and that's my preference. Or they'll say, I feel this wasn't really done well from a production standpoint, and here's why, and here's what I think they could have done differently. They go back and forth, and it's great. It's excellent content. It's excellent
Yeah.
content.
What's nice is it engenders discussion,
Oh
which,
yeah, yeah.
and you're saying you can't remember what we talked about before and after hitting record. I remember we talked about this before, so people listening won't have heard
Okay.
it. But the idea that, you know, week to week television allowed discussion between episodes. So if there was an episode that we didn't think was very good, we had a whole week to kind of talk about it and go, it's a bit odd this, and actually sometimes those conversations can change your opinion a little bit. So you're like,
Mm-hmm.
I just don't understand why this character would have acted in this way, or the context of this, it's really weird. And then somebody can kind of give you a different point of view. And then you're like, oh, actually, okay, I hadn't thought about that. And they do that with these bad episodes. Like, okay, this is an episode that is sort of universally, and again, like they're covering everything. Like TOS,
Hmm.
TNG, DS9,
Hmm.
Voyager, Picard, Discovery. Like nothing is off the table. So they're not saying,
Hmm.
oh, all the bad episodes are in Discovery. Like,
Right.
I think the one they felt is the worst they've had to talk about was a Voyager episode. I think, or maybe the Picard
Oh,
one.
that
It's
one.
kind of
Yes.
tied.
Uh yeah, the questionable Neelix and Kess
Yeah,
mating episode. Yes. Yes.
yeah. But even with that, they express why it feels off, why it's weird, and then
Mhm.
what could have helped, or could they have changed, like instead of it being this character, could they have used this character in a similar role and it would have it, and it just it's yeah, as you said, it's not berating anyone, it's not
Mhm.
talking down to anyone, it's just kind of let's chat about this. And
It's yeah, it's engendering conversation, and that's really like you referenced. You and I are both from the era of episodic TV being one a week, and you had to wait and you had all that time, right? Nowadays, sometimes they choose to put things out once a week, which they're doing with Starfleet Academy, and sometimes it's all the episodes at once. Um, but thinking about it and enjoying thinking about it and enjoying debating that with other
mm,
people, it doesn't have to be a hateful thing.
no,
That's something that I enjoy, and you said you enjoy just thinking about what are the possibilities of this.
yeah,
Good examples on Starfleet Academy recently, some hot button topics. Why are the Charons there, or how, or whatever? How do we have a female Jem'Hadar at all, or how did a Klingon and a Jem'Hadar have a baby at all? And there's many possibilities. You can debate that, and so many different ones that there are to choose from. But that debate without being hateful is enjoyable.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's upsetting me is when I talk about these topics, people telling me like, just enjoy it, just like switch your
Right.
brain off and enjoy. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, this isn't a pew pew movie. Switch your brain
Right.
off and enjoy. This is Star Trek. We're supposed to think about, it's supposed to raise questions.
Right.
But I think beyond the fact that some it's not the fact that it's like episodic and people weren't used to that. I think that the binge, like kind of dropping 14 episodes in one go, watch a whole series, it broke people because they don't want to talk about shows because it's like, I don't want spoilers. They don't have time to think about an episode because they need to get through all of the episodes as quick as they can to avoid someone else spoiling a series for
Yeah.
them. And
Yeah.
it's sort of
Yeah.
broken this ability to be able to sit with an episode and really
Right.
think about it, because there's no need to think about it. I'm just going to watch the next one.
Right.
You know, it,
Or if you're like me and I don't have chunks of time to get through all the episodes, like I have to try to avoid spoilers for some shows for a long time because I have not been able to get through all of them, and everybody's been talking about all of them for so long. There is no gold standard really for how long you have to wait before you spoil a show, right? Or a season of a show. Episode, sure, but when they drop them all at once, what's proper, what's the rule? I mean, stating spoilers here, okay, but yeah, it to me makes it less fun, and I think that's what you're alluding
yeah,
to, like being able to ruminate on each episode and look forward to the next one to see how they're going to progress or resolve certain things is enjoyable.
and speaking of conversation, here's an
Yes.
interesting as well. So we're talking about Trekking Up North. Um, Obviously they record their show live,
Hmm.
which adds another element to it because you also have the chat. um,
Yes.
Duncan, I've seen you pop up in there. Oh, actually, I've seen you pop up on an episode. I've
Yes,
seen you
I was.
actually be involved in the discussion. I've seen you submit the questions that you've mentioned for the double wheel of honor and shame.
Yeah, I
Um,
get involved, man. I love it.
but I've also seen you, tapping away in the chat. You're there. Um, but what I like about the chat is, while they don't, it doesn't derail.
Mhm.
I've done live shows where I've just allowed, not on here, but with other podcasts, where I've allowed the chat to just derail me because they start talking about stuff and I'm just like, what's the chat saying? Let's go and talk about the
Oh
chat.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
they don't do that.
Yeah, that
But
happens.
like we were having a whole discussion about the Betazoids and stuff like that,
Mhm.
and it was great because you're able to add, you're like feeding them bits of information, and they bring it, and you can see them in real time. Go, okay, hadn't realized that. How does this piece of information affect what I thought I knew, what I've been stating so far? And then you can see them kind of incorporating that now
Mhm.
into their understanding of the episode and say, okay, well, that does make sense in this
They
context. And
do.
da, da, da. And I think that's
Well, they're
it's
it's
great.
very skillful. Yeah, I agree. It's a different sort of angle of a skill for hosting a live vodcast. And I can tell you where they get a lot of practice at it. And I should probably talk this up. And I don't think either of us has said the names of the two amazingly talented guys that do this show. Captain Goodwill is the primary. He is. There's a whole thing that they've got going on with the starship, which I'll maybe talk about later. The other person goes by Synoiz. That's Synoiz, or Z if you're American watching this. And both of them have Twitch channels. And Goodwill has several different video games that he plays on Twitch, uh, and he always dresses up like an in-universe character for the game, and he speaks in the accent of that character. So you might see him being I forget what country he drives in, maybe British, but it's like an American driving a tractor
Big
trailer
truck.
lori
Yeah.
in Europe. And he goes by Cousin Goodwill on that one. He's got a trucker hat and the whole thing, and he's a little bit dense. He plays Far Cry, and he's like a cult killing guy running around there. He plays a cowboy one where Red is it one of the Red Dead Redemption games? Anyway, he puts on the cowboy hat and he does an American Western accent, and entertaining, highly
Yeah.
entertaining, and he makes
They
money
do
at it.
love
So
their accents. They
support
do
that.
love their accents. And so Captain Goodwill, or Michael Adam Goodwill, as he's known here as
Mhm.
well. So he was on episode 11 of this show, where we
Right,
talked about
right.
the
I watched that.
his model ships and the wall of
Yes.
debt.
I
There you
learned
go.
so much about starships on that. It was really good.
Yeah, yeah, I did too. I was, I was,
Nice.
I was blown away. Yeah, and I've stolen his expression. I was speaking to a guest recently. It might have been last week's episode, and I was talking about, and mentioned that, oh yeah, so Captain Goodwill, he's got this wall with all the ships. He refers to it as his like wall of debt. I have
Yeah.
the pile of shame that is the books that have been recommended to me on this podcast that I have bought and are now stacked in a pile as I slowly, very, very, very slowly chip away trying to read these books. And now I
I
call it
feel that.
the pile of shame. So
I feel that so hard because I'm not a reader, as you might think of a reader. I read books, but somewhat slowly and very occasionally, and I
mm,
can't tell you the number of excellent books that I've got that I have not
yeah,
read, and they're in a lovely little pile. So yeah, don't feel alone on that one, man.
no. I think it's because, and I've said this probably on the show before, but like I work, I come home, I've got
Hmm.
to spend some time with my kids. Then
Hmm.
by evening time, it's kind of like, well, now's the only time I have with my wife when our kids are asleep, when
Yep.
you're decompressing from the day. So we might watch something together. For example, last night we sat down on the sofa, put the big TV on, which is so rare these days. My kids have the TV. I barely ever get to use my TV. I'm always watching everything on an iPad. But
Yeah.
Thursday night, Star Trek, I'm like, let's sit down. We'll watch it on the big TV. I can do that. If I'm like, shh, I'm going to read a book. Like, that's, you know,
Yeah.
we've been married for 17 years. If I want to make it 18, I can't be doing this. I've got to,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's that balance, man. And I'm right there with you on that one. It's evening time is sacred, you spend it together. I have been reading actually more because my wife is a big reader,
right.
and she likes us reading together. So like we'll sit next to each other on the couch and both read, and that's
Hmm.
the only reason that I've been reading more lately. is
Yeah.
because of that. So yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So my
tricky.
wife, she's not a huge reader, but like, so I mentioned like I lived in Italy. I used to work in hotels in Venice, and quite often, people would bring a book to read on holiday, and then they would just leave it because they were like, "Oh, it's just too much to,
Oh
I
yeah, okay,
finished it. I'm
okay.
gonna." And so sometimes I'd come home with books, and I was like, I started reading this book. I went to work. I came home. My wife has taken this book, and I don't get this book back until she's finished reading it. And then she started reading this whole series of books by Tess Gerritsen that are like thriller, kind of detective. Rizzoli and Isles. They did a TV series about it, but
Mm,
so the author was a doctor before writing, so all the medical stuff is very precise, but it's quite,
nice,
and then they're a
nice.
detective and all of that. But so she gets really gripped by these books, and she
Sure,
has to like demolish the book. Like she can't do anything else until she's finished it. And then
got
she
it.
starts scaring herself as well. So then
Ah!
nighttime's interesting because she's scared. And so it's like, it's hard to be like, oh, let's have a but I also find reading is the thing that really knocks me out. Like if I'm watching something, I feel like I can watch for hours. If I start reading, I'm like a chapter in and I'm just like, nothing when you kind of drop the book and then you like
Oh,
startle
definitely,
yourself and wake yourself up
definitely.
because the book's falling. That's
Yeah,
me.
yeah. That's how
So
I can tell that I'm super tired is if I'm playing a game on my phone and I'm sitting down and I find myself dropping it. That's when I'm like, okay, yeah, I gotta rest for a little while. But book
there
for
we go.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Um, all right. Is there anything we haven't mentioned about this podcast?
Yes.
So you mentioned the
Yeah.
Twitch. You mentioned the hosts. I mean,
Yes.
they also have a whole. Okay, the ship. You mentioned the ship. Let's
Theme.
talk
Yeah,
about
yeah. So
because
it's a many like layered and varied thing, and they put it all together, make it work. Oh, and just to I don't know, tie this concept up. I mentioned Twitch because I think that doing Twitch where you're playing a game and seeing a chat and you're doing that, but also kind of responding to chat at the same time,
yeah,
that's a skill you build on Twitch, right? So I think they've built the ability to not just focus on the chat by doing Twitch.
right.
Just like an observation, I don't have those skills at all. But I mean, I don't think I could do this and host and look at a chat at the same time either. But so what they do for a theme is it's super hilarious. Um, Captain Goodwill is the captain of a fictitious starship called the USS Adequate, and it is an Akira class vessel. Which I love that design, and he goes into some stuff about that. It's sort of like the progenitor of the design for the Enterprise NX-01, but you can hear about that on that episode of Trekommendations. Uh, and he is, of course, the captain. And Sonoy's is the science officer, who, by the way, recently got a promotion to commander. It may or may not stick, but now he's Commander Sonoy's, who is a Geesian from the planet Hong, mostly because of the um, um, cross-dressing. I'm using the wrong word. Drag persona that he has created called the Velvet Snatch, and it is stunning. His makeup and attire and everything is so unique and creative, but it doesn't involve a wig. He goes straight bald and all white. So he Goodwill started teasing him that he looked like a goose, and then started saying he's a Geesian and the planet is Honk. So he's created a whole lore around that. So the interface and everything is like you're on the ship and it's the captain and the science officer talking about these episodes. It's layered, but it's
Yep.
super creative, and the graphics that they create together are excellent, excellent. Obviously very practiced. So that adds another fun dimension to it.
Yeah, excellent. So, I mean, I think at this point, people just need to go and look at it. That's going to be the
Definitely,
solution.
definitely.
It's free. It's on YouTube. It's on, it's not going to
It
cost you
is.
anything. Pop over
Yep.
there and have a look.
Yep, they
Got the
need more subscribers, more followers. They're
yeah,
under 200 as of today, so they could use more. Also, you can watch the episode I was on, which is the one in which they review the episode Bound from Enterprise. They sort of rigged the Dabo wheel for that one.
Yeah.
So I could be on and do that. But it's the one with the Orion women. They aren't properly slaves. I don't think that I don't think we have to be precious about spoiling an episode that's over 20 years old.
No.
So, the
Well, we
trio of
mentioned
Orion
spoilers earlier, didn't we?
supposed alleged slaves that basically almost take over the whole ship. I have a fight scene in engineering in that one. It's my one speaking part that I got on Enterprise. I have a lot of featured background and a name separately, but on that I was crewman number 2 and threw a guy against a wall and yelled at him and stuff. So very exciting. So yeah, maybe start with that one if you want to.
I was literally going to say that's a good episode. If you're here because you know Duncan, or or if he's just won you over listening to him explain things this episode, go and see his episode of that. Or on a Friday around 8 p.m. in the UK. I'm not sure what time that is for you over in the States.
It is 1 p.m. in my time zone, which is, or is it 12 now? I lost track with daylight savings, but I'm in Pacific time, so it's either 7 or 8 hours earlier here. I think it's 8 hours earlier here right now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's actually going to be soon from when we're recording this, by the way.
Soon.
So I just looked at the clock now. So I got to give you time to watch the episode beforehand. So we're going to start wrapping things up.
That's right.
But
that's right.
head over to see that. Okay. We're going to keep this all on theme, but we are going to move to the next part of the show that is, of course, incoming transmissions.
Incoming transmission.
So this is where, if you want to reach the show, you can do it through Instagram, TikTok. You can email trekommendations@gmail.com, or you can leave things on Facebook. And I'm keeping it on theme today, Duncan, because I put up a post. Now I need to find it. I put up a post on Instagram that got pushed to Facebook, and Trekking Up North commented on this post. So they will be our trigger. So this, and it links to what we were saying. It was actually a video asking, how did we have the Gem die in the 32nd century, and some possible ways that could have happened. Trekking Up North says, this is exactly what people should be doing: questioning, developing discussions and theories. This is what we used to do with Trek back in the day. To which I replied, make sure you tell people how wonderful I am, and then they should stop, and that they should be following me. And he told me done and done. So now if I head over to the Trekking Up North page, oh no, that's gone. Hold on. Why did that happen? Let's go.
They're so good at cross-supporting other people who are doing creative endeavors. Really good.
They shared the video on their page, and it says, listen up, Chucks. If you're not following my guy at Trekommendations, a Star Trek podcast, then you're sorely missing out. Not only is Jason devilishly handsome, he is also a passionate Trekkie like the rest of us and deserves all the support and success. This dude's channel is a permanent fixture on all our YouTube episodes for a reason. Now, as lovely as that is to hear, I do have issue with this final sentence that says it's a permanent fixture on all our YouTube episodes for a reason. Because, and I don't know if this coincides with someone being promoted to commander, but there was a period of time that if you looked at the description of their episodes, my channel was featured. That is not the case anymore.
Oh no.
And I've not said anything because I think it's already was nice for them to do it in the first place. And it feels very presumptuous to put it out like, hey, why is my channel on there? But if ever there was an opportunity to gently mention it, it's now, right?
There you go. Yep. Definitely
and I don't think I would have said anything if it wasn't for that final line of the post. So,
well, there you go. Well,
there we go.
I know he had letter decks on there too for a little while. My letter decks endeavor. So I'll have to double check that now.
Double check that that's still there.
I will, and I will definitely give him some crap about it.
The two different approaches we have. Okay.
Right.
Right. So you've just mentioned letter decks.
Yes.
Duncan K Fraser. If people want to track you down, find out what you or the greater letter decks team is and are doing, where can people find you, or what do you want to promote? What should people be looking out for in the near future?
Okay. So we have, I would say that our primary account is on Instagram. It's LetterDecks, easy to find. If you type in, it's letter_decks if you're doing, the specific @ We're also on Facebook under the same moniker, and Threads and Blue Sky. So, but again, Instagram. And we have a website, which is World Wide Web, letterdecks.com, all one word. And you can also email us, letterdecks@gmail.com, if you're curious about, what we're doing next, or have some ideas about us being on a show. And it isn't just the me show. I founded the group, but I've recruited a lot of us that played small characters on Star Trek Enterprise specifically. And some of us have names, some of us don't, but we were all featured and we all have many episodes. I actually have probably the fewest episodes of anyone that's like part of the official Letter Decks crew so far, and I've got over 20. So we have, stand-ins. We have got people that did aliens, all kinds of things. And so you can check us out on any of those social media platforms or the website. What we have coming up is we plan to be at the Emerald City Comic-Con in Seattle. And by being there, I mean, here's what we do. We dress as Starfleet veterans. And I'm talking about the hat, like the nautical hat where it's got the registry number of the ship, like you see Navy people wear,
Mm-hmm.
but it's an X-01 Enterprise and then the silhouette of our ship. And we're sort of cosplaying our own characters, and we walk around the convention floor finding people who are in Star Trek cosplay of any kind, and we talk to them and say, great costumes, can we get a picture with you and everything? And then we're like, oh, by the way, we were on Enterprise. I don't know if you're into that or not. And that changes the conversation really fast, and it's fun. We like to share our stories, so what we do is we set up a place where we're going to have dinner later, and we say, hey, if you want to hear us talk about stories and stuff, come join us for dinner. And the idea is kind of like, the guys that were in the Army or the Navy or whatever, pull up to a bar and be like, let me tell you about my days in the war, kind of thing. But we're talking about our time on the ship, not like as our characters. We might do that sometime in the future. But then, the conversation's more like a panel where we're talking about what it was like to be on the show and do the things that we did. And we got to do that as a panel at Star Trek Las Vegas this past August, which I alluded to. And if you want to see what that was like, that is on the Transporter Room. All 6 of us were on one episode there. So you can check that out there. So Emerald City Comic Con, the Washington State Summer Con, which is in Puyallup in June. And we are definitely coming back to Star Trek Las Vegas for 2026 for the 25th anniversary of Enterprise. And there is a strong chance.
And the 60th anniversary of of Star Trek in general. But you're
Oh, yeah.
absolutely right. The 25th.
Yes. But we're talking about my show. No. Full respect. 60th anniversary of the original series that started it all, airing first in 1966. Changed so many lives, including mine, including many others. We wouldn't be here, of course, without the genesis of that whole thing. Star Trek lore, pun intended. And so we also, though, we are in talks about showing up to Destination Blackpool as well. So we'll see how that goes as well.
Yeah, I'm in talks as to whether or not I'm going to get a ticket for that as well. So that's in talks with my wife mostly. But
excellent. Well, I hope we see you there. Please see.
If you're going to be there, then there's a stronger chance that I'll be there. I'll be honest with you. So let me know if that does happen, because
I definitely will. I definitely will.
Also, because I'm. I think I've mentioned this on the show before, but like my idea of going to a con is I'm less about the stars and more about the fans, and I'm more about like I have in my brain a concept of how I reduce this show to like a 2-minute thing that I can do with random people. In that, if I see you in a Star Trek uniform at a convention, I'm going to grab you and try and do like a little snippet version. So that's my plan. So maybe that'll be the place. Maybe that'll be the place. Excellent. Well, go and do all of the things we just said. Thank you very much, Duncan K Fraser, for coming on the show. I've got to make sure I get all the names out there.
My pleasure. Thanks for that. And thanks for having me on, man. It's been fun.
Wonderful. So thank you everyone for watching, for listening. I will be back next week with another guest and another Trekommendation.
Ending program.